The rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook, download the app, use promo code RTRS. Brought to you by Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. Get yours at bigbarker.com/Ricky. And Adam Kasebe, that's Ksebe, the official realtor of the process, serving you at the Delaware beaches and anywhere else at processrealtor.com. On the show today, big guest, huge guest. Former Sixer, former Wizard, former Cavalier, former Warrior, former a lot. The owner of the Larry Hughes Basketball Academy. That's right, former Sixer, former Iverson backcourt mate, Larry Hughes. He is co-host of the Bleav In Wizards podcast, a podcast about the team, the Wizards, not believing in actual Wizards.
And he's here to ask us for advice.
Yes.
On how to do a podcast about a bad
He's
team.
going to interview us.
Mm-hmm.
But the emergency Sixers news, according to everyone, Brett Brown, Ben Simmons, and Joel Embiid, Ben playing power forward. Shake Milton playing starting point guard in practice. Unbelievable news. Just never thought it would happen. And here we are. Before we get going, the newsletter comes out Thursday. The Corner 3 with Zoe. Go to rightsrickysanchez.com/newsletter. There will be a 10% off coupon for merch in there. So go and sign up for that. The DraftKings Hostage Orlando Sixers pool, free to play, $500 to win. Go to rightsrickysanchez.com. And that's it. Without any further ado, Amos and the chef.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Welcome to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with a guy who has been starting at power forward literally since birth, Mike Levin.
That's right. You want your power forward to be 5'11". You want your point guard to be 6'10". You want your power forward to be 5'11".
Yes. Well, here we are, Mike. Now, it still remains to be seen whether the first game, Ben Simmons is listed as F with the name next to F. But they haven't hedged, and I think we would have guessed they would have slow played this in the beginning of Orlando camp, like what they were going to do. But really, after the first or second practice, Brett Brown says that Ben's been playing exclusively at the floor, and Shake Milton has gotten the point guard reps. Then Joel Embiid, right afterwards, says that that Shake has been the starting point guard, and it looks like that's going to be the thing. Your thoughts? Questions, concerns? Where are you?
About time. I mean, this is what I just could not care less about what we're labeling Ben as. He's just like a really good basketball player, and he'll do a whole host of things. When Shake's not on the court, like Ben's going to bring the ball up. Like he's going to be versatile. If he gets the ball in transition, he's going to go. I think.
But it matters in the way of what he thinks, I think. Like
sure.
If
he's bought in, right? If he's bought into this kind of thing, then great. I mean, for me, it is Ben in the half court without the threat of pulling up and hitting a shot. It was always making it weird. It was always making the spacing weird. Despite the fact that their offense is still good with him and Embiid on the court, there was just so much more potential that we were not hitting, right?
And especially in the playoffs against good defensive teams.
Because in the playoffs last year, things weren't really working, and Brett basically just handed Jimmy the ball and said, let's just run pick and roll with Jimmy when it counts. So the idea that we're doing, I wouldn't say a similar thing. Shake and Jimmy are not the same kind of player.
Yeah, Shake's a good shooter.
Shake's a good shooter. Also a sweeter boy. It's a really good step, and I was Ben is too good to just be like Draymond, but he's also like I don't think I think we're too focused on labels. Like I just don't care about it. I want Ben to do everything because he can do everything. And if we're screening and rolling with him and he's in the short roll and he's attacking the offensive glass and I'm not even going to say if he starts shooting, whatever, who cares? But like he's an excellent player and an intuitive player, and allowing him to operate more in space and sort of just like find holes and be activated either through screening or off the ball or making quick decisions on the short roll. Like that's exciting. And also Shake is great. He's really, really good. And I don't think that it wasn't like he was doing Ricky Davis stuff when he was successful towards the end of this season. He's a really good player. Like he's not going to shoot like 60% from three, but the shot is real. He's a solid ball handler. He's long enough on defense to hang in there. He's a pretty good passer, intuitive player, like has a level of shiftiness. I just think this is a long time coming. It is, good on Brett for going. He's out of the rotation, and then even though it's been many months, like a couple games later, basically going from he's out of the rotation to he's our starting point guard. But I think this is a positive thing for the team, for Shake, hopefully for Ben if he's invested in that.
I agree with everything that you said. I think, look, at the very least, even if they didn't make this statement, I agree with you in what we're calling him, but it is significant to them because they have roles. At least to the team, it is significant them saying they've been playing him at 4. That is significant. Whether what we call the positions, like what we're talking about is duties and skills. Mm-hmm. And obviously they have different duties between those two people. Mm-hmm. And look, even because of what Ben is, you don't really want a typical super dominant point guard guy, probably because as long as Ben isn't shooting, he's going to have the ball a lot to be effective offensively as well, because part of having him as point guard, the advantage there was that he's not the open guy in the corner, he's the guy with the ball, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it is important in buy-in and all of that. I still think and look, him having Shake Milton on the court rather than Al Horford with Ben Simmons, even if they didn't change duties, puts another creator on the court and another shooter on the court. Can't do anything but help. What I will say, though...
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to comment on how many times you said duties.
Duties. DOODIES is
Great.
What I'm talking about, right?
Great.
So what I will say, though, is that the sort of complicated thing here is that there isn't really a 4 in the league that doesn't shoot standstill three-pointers. There isn't, And,
but they're not a point guard either, so I guess it doesn't make a difference.
Right. And which is why I actually believe that he will shoot them down there. I don't think he's going to shoot 3 or 4 a game, but I think he's going to shoot them more than he was, because I think it's going to come to him in a more natural, rhythmic way. And I do think I promise this isn't me trolling or anything. I think the empty gym is going to help in that respect. But that said, what he's doing, I don't think he's going to screen and roll every time. And by the way, I'm happy that it's Shake. It's also a team that has championship aspirations with essentially a rookie point guard or whatever too. And he's a good creator and he's a good passer, but he's not great. So this is still sort of complicated in that Embiid is still a player that likes to be near the rim. It's still complicated in that power forwards in the NBA shoot three-pointers, standstill three-pointers. I mean, every team they go against will have a guy that does that. And then the other thing I would say is that, boy, I wish we had made this decision before we gave $280 million to 2 power forwards.
Sure. 2.
Tobias Harris and Al Horford.
And Ben. now.
Oh, and Ben. Yeah, well, aside from those two, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I would agree. I would agree with you. I think.
like it just might have been a more natural thing to chase Brogdon down.
Oh man, 100%.
Right.
The thing I said about labels, I guess I was talking more about how we and the media and the public talk about labels. Like I do think that it matters to the players.
Mm-hmm.
Like clearly, as far as like a defined role goes, freaking Glenn Robinson got here on a horse and buggy and was complaining about his lack of a role or a defined role pretty quickly into his tenure.
And by the way, it was always been important to Simmons. Like there's I am a starting point guard were quotes from Ben Simmons before his first season with the Sixers. So
right. Well, that's because Brett handed him the ball, and the quote from Brett about saying like, well, we didn't have anybody else. We didn't have, TJ slander aside, we didn't have Chris Paul or Damian Lillard, I think is who he said, to block him from being point guard. So we just handed him the ball and said, go be point guard.
I think
now, I mean, he played power forward at LSU and a lot of power forward in high school. I don't think he's just going to be like, all right, now I'm strictly a power forward. He's still going to be handling the ball a lot. He's still going to be making a lot of the decisions. They're still going to give him the ball a lot in transition and tell him to go start stuff. The thing I'm excited for, and not just that he's going to be, it's going to be a Shake Ben pick and roll or Shake Josh Ben pick and roll, or Tobias Josh Ben pick and roll on the ball. I'm excited for Ben screening off the ball as well because he's a really intuitive player. And imagine him with like. JJ would be a better option, but Korkmaz, or if Ryan Broekhoff comes, we talked about Ryan a little bit last time, but his wife has coronavirus, so and is she pregnant, or
I think they have a young child.
Young child.
Yeah.
And so who knows there? But if Ben screening for a capable quick shooter, all of a sudden the guy covering Ben has to jump out on the shooter. Now Ben's cutting hard to the rim. And that's decision. So like the big guys either got to be like, okay, Ben's getting a lob here, or Korkmaz is getting an open three. So that I think opens the offense up and keeps them activated while either Embiid is screening or Embiid's posting up. Like this has got to happen all at once. Like you watch the Sixers offense, and Michael Connor was talking about it last time, compared to Toronto and Milwaukee against each other. Against the Sixers, it's actually not this way, and it hasn't been this way because the Sixers did cover people pretty straight up. But against other teams, the Sixers just have a way of making things like really ugly and grimy. But the Sixers themselves are ugly and grimy on offense. Like the ball's not humming along. Like early Brett Brown, the ball was moving, pass is king. Like they kept talking about that. That has not been the case this year or last year, aside from the JJ Embiid situation. And just the idea of an offense sort of moving together, and now that they have, time to practice it, my hope is that they can actually feel like this is a fluid offense. They're passing, they know their options. It's not just, Tobias getting the ball with like 12 left on the shot clock and his like, okay, I'm gonna Carmelo my guy down, look at him for a while and pull up from like 16. My hope is that there's a little bit more fluidity, which there is when Ben posts up, but there's not when Embiid posts up. It's a lot of standing there. So I'm hopeful that the time and Shake and Ben being a more active and willing screener on and off ball will allow them to just have a better looking offense, which we just haven't had since, I guess, Simmons' rookie year, really.
Yeah, and I agree with you on ball. Like, I think people think about theoretical pick and rolls rather than real pick and rolls. And like the idea of Ben as a screener and diving to the rim every time is A, like very taxing. B, he's not a good like free throw shooter, and I don't. And C, the other thing is that the starting lineup still does not include around them like dead-eye three-point shooters. There's Josh Richardson and Tobias. Like, it's fine, but it's not like the world. It's not like Houston when they had Harden and Capella, and the world opens up because you're so frightened of everybody else around the perimeter.
Right.
So I think that's a really good point about him screening off ball, which he should have been doing. And he did some anyway. Like he would do that thing where he would bring the ball up, get rid of it right away, and then sort of go to the break and set a screen around there for somebody curling around. So I think the lineups that have like however long they can survive with Shake and Furkan and somebody, so there's at least a couple of shooters that people are frightened of on the court would be helpful.
I agree. You watch Ben, especially in the playoffs last year, you watch him kind of let Jimmy operate, and he's like, okay, I'm going to be the offensive rebound guy and the hustle guy, which he was fairly successful at and made some nice plays out of. He certainly wasn't like a zero factor, but I know, the quote is that he didn't just want to hang out in the dunker spot all the time. The thing that I'm interested in seeing how he is off ball when he's either when he's screening or when he's not is how does he move? Like he has a little bit, obviously there's a lot of LeBron in him, but when LeBron doesn't have the ball, he's kind of just like standing there sometimes.
Yeah, he's a lot of catching his breath. Yeah, and directing.
Yeah, and just like looking around.
Yeah,
right, assessing the court and stuff. I think a lot of times when you've been the primary player your whole life, you're just body naturally like within the game. You're kind of just following the ball along, rather than like I'm spacing the floor, I'm a weapon out here, that kind of thing. So there are times in the playoffs last year when you saw Ben, he's kind of just wandering around. He's not moving with purpose all the time when he doesn't have the ball. And so I'd be interested to see, okay, is he actually like foul line extended, spreading out to three, or is he actually in the corner, ready to like pull from there, or is he screening or hitting the offensive glass hard? It's interesting. I mean, the idea of Ben as an offensive rebounder is interesting. Obviously, Embiid is a good offensive rebounder as well, but I think he's so intuitive as a player and has a nose for the ball and is incredibly athletic that it'd be interesting to lock him in that way of like rolling both to catch lobs and to be the short roll guy and also to be positioned for offensive rebounds so he can, punish people down there. Liberty Ballers had a Moses Malone video that they edited about like how good of a rebounder he was. He's forgotten about as far as that goes. And it was like just watching Moses operate and like use his body and length and just instincts to like tip the ball to himself and punish people on the offensive boards. It's really his like only real elite NBA skill. Was impressive. And I think Ben has not a Hall of Fame level offensive rebounding, but has some of that in him. And I'd be interested to see if they unlock that and if he has like purposeful movement off ball, how much this team the offense would be able to, be more efficient, because it just hasn't been most of the season.
And the offensive rebounding stuff comes along with not being afraid to get fouled as well. And Moses was averaging fucking 20 rebounds a game, like 26 points. But
a totally different thing. But
but truthfully, like if you can get offensive rebounds, you can get points. Like it's an easy way to get points, whether you're getting fouled or whether you're getting putbacks. It's an easy way to do it.
The reason why people don't do it so much anymore, why offensive rebounding is not much of a skill, is because people value getting back on defense. But Ben is so fast that he can go after offensive rebounds and get back and affect the play, so he's not just like lagging behind,
The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast, of course, is presented by, as always, DraftKings Sportsbook. DraftKings Sportsbook, baby. After they announced that Ben was going to play power forward and Shake Milton was going to play point guard, I ran to the app to see if the odds have changed at all for the Sixers championship. And as of yesterday, no. Hold on. Let me look to see if today. Sixers now, let's see, team futures, championship winner, Sixers still at 2,800. So no, nothing's changed.
That's an edge.
Yeah, there's value there. There's value. Plus 2,800 to win the championship and still plus 900 to win the Eastern Conference, along with the Heat. The Heat are also plus 900. Pacers still plus 3,300, and that hasn't changed with the rumor that Oladipo might play now because he had a couple of good practices. Look, DraftKings Sportsbook is the presenting sponsor of the Ricky. We trust and love DraftKings Sportsbook. As sports begin to come back, baseball next week, we're going to get all sorts of baseball odds. There's Phillies championship odds there. There's over-under. I think their over-under for wins was 31.5. And the great thing about DraftKings Sportsbook, there's a reason it is the number one rated sportsbook app in the App Store. It's because it's the best one. Right here, it's not one of these overseas books. You can deposit money whenever you want. You withdraw money whenever you want. It's right there in your bank account, like almost immediately. And if you don't want to bet on sports, if you feel like you don't have enough edge, you go into the casino, the DraftKings casino. The casino games is roulette and blackjack and all that stuff. So we love DraftKings Sportsbook, and has supported every charity thing that we've done since they've come on as a sponsor. So we really love DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook and Casino app now. Oh, and by the way, the line on the first Sixers game it's still opened at Sixers -4 against the Pacers, and now it's Sixers -4.5. So I imagine when they get the Ben Simmons news, it'll be -9, -9.5, something like that. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook and Casino app now and use the promo code RTRS to play up to $200 of casino games risk-free. That is promo code RTRS to play risk-free up to $200 for your first 24 hours of casino play on DraftKings Sportsbook. And there's the pool. The Sixers Orlando Ricky hostage pool, all over-unders, free to play. Doesn't cost you 1 cent. Just got to be in PA, and you can win $500 if you pick the over-unders right. Would you change your Ben Simmons over-under 2.5 threes made?
No.
You wouldn't? You'd still stay under?
No. Come on.
Well, I had over. You still have under? I'm going to have
I don't believe that you have over. I think this is a trick that they're asked. Like DraftKings has asked you to do over so you can play it up or something.
No,
it's an insane bet.
Just go to our website to sign up for that pool right now. Free to play, $500 goes to the champion. For DraftKings Sportsbook, must be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only, in partnership with Hollywood Casino at Penn National Racecourse. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Back to the Ricky. I believe we're being joined by one Larry Hughes. Can you hear us?
Guys, am I early?
Yeah, that's okay.
Oh, this is good.
Yeah,
I just wanted to make sure I was working before 1:30 hit, so I can jump back on in a couple minutes if that works for you guys.
I mean, we're ready. If you're ready,
okay.
We can just keep rolling.
Oh, good. I like to be on time. I don't want to be late.
I love it. So welcome, Larry Hughes. We felt bad because a couple months ago, your podcast partner for Bleav In Wizards, Matt, sent us an email, and I was talking to Mike after we read his email on the pod, and I was like, I'd like to get Larry on the pod, but I really just kind of want Larry on the pod. I don't want really Matt. And so we thought about it for a little while. Not that I don't like Matt, but you were a Sixer, you know. So we took a little while, but we finally got you. We're honored to have you.
Oh, good. Yes. You guys got to thank Matt, man, because he was working on you guys' behalf. As far as the scheduling, it's kind of tough. But he was definitely working and keeping this in front of me. So you guys better thank him.
We will.
There you go.
We will.
We appreciate it. So you've been out of the league since 2012, right? That was your last season in here?
That's correct.
How has it been in retirement? I think, we know when people are on TV all the time, you see like, okay, they're transitioning to retirement, but there's so many players that were, all-star level or close, then they retire and you're like, well, what are they doing? What's their lives like? So how's it been for you?
For me, I definitely took some time away from basketball. And that was really just being in the gym, shooting, or any thought process around working out. So I took at least like 2 years from the time I stopped playing. I think I was kind of burnt out in some way. But I've really just jumped into the family life, man. I have kids that are in college, and I had kids that were in high school at the time. But it was a really important time for me to show presence and make sure that the guidance was there for my kids. So that's really what I've been doing, is making sure that my family and my kids were whole. And then I've jumped into the community space where I'm just a mentor. I'm just an outlet to our community. And I use basketball now to help teach, skills and drills, basketball development. But there's also character development mixed in that. So I'm still involved with basketball, but I did take some time off to make sure that I, addressed all of my family's and my kids' needs. And now I'm just kind of in the community, man, just kind of being a voice to really help out.
I wanted to ask you, so you have the Larry Hughes Basketball Academy, and like, does that, you see in movies sometimes, whether it's like a fictional coach or a fictional player, and it's always going back to the sport with kids that sort of reignites what they actually liked about the sport in the first place. Do you feel like that it has done that for you?
That is. That's really a good point, because if you talk to anyone that's been in my gym or been around me while I'm in the gym working out with the young people, I gravitate towards those that are less developed because I understand their journey. Like I know how hard it is to play basketball at a high level. And a lot of these kids, obviously, they want to play at a high level. But some of them don't want to make mistakes, so they don't want to show that they don't understand or have it all down pat. So for me, it's like really gravitating towards those young people, man, because I know, how hard this sport really is. And to be, 3 feet out there shooting at we raised the hoops down, but shooting at a 10-foot basket, that's a challenging situation. So, really working with the young people because I understand the journey that they're on.
You play with Iverson. I know that everybody probably asked you about this, but let's hear it. You were a 19-year-old kid. You came out of St. Louis after 1 year. You played with Iverson for a year and a half.
Yeah.
What's that like for you?
It was cool for me, man. We had similar backgrounds. We were connected off the court, way before we were connected on the court. Our families had similar backgrounds, so we just had that connection. We were dealing with siblings that were having some health issues. So our conversations, like starting out from the time we met, my little brother who's passed away, who suffered from heart defect, actually met Allen before I did. They went up to Philadelphia and met him at Fridays just on a random night. And our relationship started there because he took such of a liking to my little brother. And then so he treated me as a little brother as well. So, my little brother helped break the ice. And then once I got around him, he just had both arms open for me. So, I was driving his cars. He was, taking care of all my incidentals. He was taking care of all the meals, our nightlife situation. He was taking care of all the nightlife situations. So he really treated me like a brother, man. And we were only teammates for that short period of time. But we've been friends for way longer. So we built a good relationship.
Did you like the Flight Brothers nickname, moniker?
I did. I think, it was going around in the space, but Miss Ann, Ann, she I don't know if she came up with it, but she was really using it, Alan's mom, she was really using it. And, I respected her so much. So anything that she put out on the table, I was like, yeah, that's us, Flight Brothers. Throw it up, I'll go get it.
So it was always the thing, with Iverson here the entire time is who are you going to put with Iverson? Then, when people look back on it, they're like, well, you never had another person who could score and so on and so forth. And you two only played for that short. Do you ever, how do you think it would have gone had you been here longer? What would the Hughes and Iverson thing, how could that have grown?
I think we would have gelled and started to understand each other's game better. We both had a prowess for stealing the basketball and then getting in transition. So that dynamic of taking your defense to your offense to create easier shots, I think we could have benefited from that. But we also had Tim Thomas there. It was there my first year after that lockout. And that's another guy that if we just had some time to grow and to mature, we were young and we had an older coach in Larry Brown who wanted things done a certain way that we were just still learning. But if you think of myself and Alan and then, Tim Thomas, we could have carried some things, into the next, into the next phase to obviously help, the Hall of Famer like Alan out.
How was playing for Larry Brown as a teenager, basically?
You know what? It was a learning experience. It was different for me. Right? It was different for me. I came from an older coach in Spoon Hour from St. Louis University. But Spoon was from a small town, man, and it was just a different vibe. But LB, I learned a lot from LB. I learned understanding of the game, and how I know that I learned a lot from LB is that when I'm working with the young people today, I'm now regurgitating some of the things that he was saying to me. I'm now saying them to the young people. So, just as an education piece, you may not like what someone is saying, but some way, if the information is good, it'll stick with you and you'll start to use it, without even knowing it. So I always give props to LB. And just up until recently, we were talking a couple times a month, just because he's been a great mentor for me. And you guys follow me, you know that I played a short time with him again. in Charlotte with the Bobcats, and it was kind of a hand-picked situation to help that team, start to build a playoff culture.
The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is brought to you by, and we get to say this, Process Realtor, Adam Kasabi, that's Ksebe, the official realtor of the Process. Go to processrealtor.com. Getting you a house at the Delaware beaches, where prices are fucking great now. Mortgage rates are super low, as I mentioned. Adam hooked me up with his mortgage guy. I'm refinancing. He can hook you up. Or he can give you referrals to. Now he's only licensed in Delaware, but that doesn't mean you only go to him for Delaware. He is your trusted realtor for whatever you need. So if you buying a house in PA, selling a house in PA, buying a house in Jersey, wherever you are, he can hook you up with the right person. But here's the thing that I'm very happy to announce. Now that the house has closed, I need you to know. All right. I need you to listen right now. So Adam sold a house to a Ricky listener. It is in, let's just say it's in Delaware. I don't want to say what town this person is in. The celebratory first person that has bought a Delaware beach house from Adam, a Rights to Ricky Sanchez listener, is named Adam Silver.
That's right. Of course it is.
So it's not the Adam Silver, or at least I don't know that he's the Adam Silver. I haven't seen a picture of him yet. But I was talking to him, just closed July 7th. So congratulations, Adam. And I said, I offered to do the podcast from whoever bought the first house, from Adam Kasabi. And he was like, yeah, why don't we wait on that, though? Like,
yeah, no interest. I just liked the house.
Don't need you in the house. Don't need anybody extra in the house. But he's very happy. He said Adam did a really awesome job. And he was like we talk about these big purchases, engagement rings, and when we're talking about cornblow, and a house is fucking the biggest purchase you're going to make. And that's why you need a good dude like Kasabi. And that's why even if you're not buying a house in the Delaware beaches, if you're buying a house anywhere, selling your house, Kasabi is the guy you want to reach out to. He's there to help you. 302-864-8643 is the phone number. You can call it. You can text it. You can email him, adam@processrealtor.com. That's adam@processrealtor.com. As I've mentioned before, the houses in Delaware, I think Adam Silver told me, by the way, it's another Adam, which is fucking strange, but Adam Silver told me that his yearly property taxes are just over $1,000, which is wild. So
sounds like something a snake would say.
Yep. Not Dave Silver, but Adam Silver. So Adam Kasabi, the official realtor of the Process. Back to the Ricky. When I hear Larry Brown doing interviews, and Iverson is here a lot, and when I hear him, you hear people like start to chill out over age and gain perspective and become like, I hear a different Larry Brown today than I heard 25 years ago, and like I hear a different AI today than when he played here, obviously. Do you see that too, as you deal with these people who you dealt with when you were 20, here 20 years later? You've grown, they've grown. Have you noticed that in them?
Oh, completely. Completely. Man, I think it's all about perspective and really evaluating, the space that you're in at that time. And understanding that we all have an ability to grow. And those of us that, make that jump and start to understand, just the different personalities that you'll come with, whether it be a coach or whether it be a general manager or whether it be a teammate. I mean, we all come from so many different places. We all come from so many different walks of life. It just takes perspective to understand like where everybody's coming from. Like I'm from obviously the inner city of St. Louis and went 1 year of college, and I practiced like half the time and went to school for like 4 months. So there was a lot that I needed to learn becoming a young man. And some of the things that I didn't want to hear at the time were probably things that I needed to hear at the time. So it is about, taking a look back and putting perspective to everything that happens. I mean, everything that happens now, I like to put myself in that person's shoes so I can try to understand, how that person is walking.
Oh, sorry.
Just let me follow up on one thing, because you mentioned, we've talked about you coming into the league as a teenager, and AI comes into the league at the same thing, and then dealing with, millions of dollars and like veteran coaches and all this. And the league recently has started to, move toward a system where a high-ranking player can come out and instead of going college, going right to the G League and maybe get paid a little more. How, it must have been tough coming to the league at that age. Is there a way, what would be the best way to do that? Because it's probably not college for 3 years, but it's probably also not going to the league right away too.
Yeah, that's an interesting deal, man, because you think of just the other outlets and the other opportunities that, young people have to explore their career or explore their journey. And it has to be to each his own because, again, like I said, we all come from so many different backgrounds. So you don't know exactly what sort of information or what the actual preparation was for that athlete, finishing up high school or going into college. And I think it is it's an interesting dynamic. I think now they're tracking kids. You got some 3rd and 4th grade ranking boards. I mean, you got, all of these media clips and all of this information that the NBA league is actually tracking these guys sooner than they were back then. I mean, they're now down into 6th grade at real evaluations for potential pro prospects. So with that, I think that you have to allow those guys the opportunity because you can't say that you were watching me in 6th grade and then when I'm 12th grade, now I'm not ready. When 6th and 7th grade, you were talking about so much potential that I had. So it's a fine line, that we walk.
Is it just you said that you wish that the team had given you and Allen and Tim Thomas more time to grow because you guys were so young. Do you think that that's a problem as far as NBA teams go? Is that there's so much, the Sixers in the last couple years, there's been 8 iterations of the team. They had the Dario and Covington with Ben and Embiid, and then JJ, and then Jimmy and Tobias, and now Tobias and Horford, and everything is just and then Fultz. It's this isn't working, this isn't working, this isn't working, but it's tough. There's basically not enough continuity to go through it. Do you think that's a problem within the league or just the way that you have to just scrap things and find things that work right away?
Well, I think it could potentially be a problem. I mean, you have to have great leadership and management. Continuity is a huge thing. When players are comfortable in their environment and their situation, they perform better. I think that could be said across the board for anyone. But yeah, I mean, you can't always look for the shiny new toy, right? I mean, the shiny new toy is not always the best option. I mean, something that's broken in, something that's used, something that's tried and tested, sometimes is the better option. And I think what we do, within the league is that obviously you have the draft boards and the potential of prospects that are coming in. So the younger and younger you identify these guys, in 10th and 11th grade, these general managers, this management team, they're eyeballing these same guys. So they're just looking for the next opportunity to grab that guy because of, the potential that's been tracked with a certain player. So I think it is about, teams really always looking for the shiny new toy as opposed to, refining and retooling the things that they have. I mean, if I'm a general manager, that's kind of how I'm operating with a good mix of young talent, but the tried and tested veteran crew is been consistently the way to get things done.
Because even with Iverson, right? It was always Spike mentioned who's going to be his number 2 guy? Who's going to be the guy next to Iverson that can ease some of the scoring load, but also shoot and also defend because Iverson can get picked on defensively, even though he was great getting in the passing lanes. And they went through Stackhouse, Keith Van Horn, Tim Thomas, Tony Kukoc, Matt Harpring, Kenny Thomas, old ass Glenn Robinson, old ass Chris Webber, and the only thing that ever really worked so much as that 01 team was so unique and strange in that it was Iverson and a bunch of guys who had no interest in shooting whatsoever. Why do you think that is, and how do you, if you're a general manager, would you build around Iverson today, that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's different today. You didn't really see a guy. I mean, he was special. He was a talent, and you had to try to figure out what that code was because, again, you have other professional players playing alongside of Allen, and those players also have goals and things that they want to accomplish in the league as well. And some of those things, those things are tied to putting the ball in the basket. I mean, let's just face it. I mean, we want to play D, but at the end of the day, that's why the rules have changed to this offensive game, is because you get more accolades, you get more stats, you get more dollars if you put the basketball in the hole. So I think it is different, just a changing in times with information, how guys are represented. You know, what makes the most sense for a championship team? Is it, one leader? Well, you can no longer have just one leader now, right? You got to have at least three that can put the ball in the hole. So that sort of formula, even though it worked for those guys and worked for Allen, that formula wouldn't work today. And I think it is when you build around Allen, and I think in this day and age, you would go bigger, right? You would put guys that are bigger than him that can handle the basketball and shoot the ball versus someone that's the exact same size, because then you get into, who's going to bring it up or who's going to play the point or who has the point guard tag on them. So, it's they don't pay me those big bucks just yet, but I think that there's a formula to work around a guy that is so explosive and can put the ball in the basket at a high rate. I think, in this day and age, there is an opportunity to put, high level talent around him via big threes or big fours or whatever it's going on now.
It's wild to think. So you played with LeBron 15 years ago, and then you turn on the TV, and then there's LeBron, who's, if not the best player, like one of the three, or however well, like. Do you ever look at him on TV and go, wait a minute, that was a decade and a half ago, and he's still there doing this? It is wild, right?
It is, but again, it's preparation, his thought process of wanting to be the greatest of all time. You can see it. I mean, he's not going to give up. I think with Brian too is, I mean, I guess you guys probably recognize, but he hardly ever hits the floor. And to play
right.
17, 18, 19, 20 years, that is a skill. So not only with his passing, with his shooting, with his ability to make everyone better, his ability to stay off the floor is I'm amazed at that as well, because I know that factors into your longevity, and then that also factors into, the things that you can continue to accumulate as you play. But he was a specimen then, man. He was, he talked to everyone. He listened to everyone that would talk to him. He studied the game. He kept his devices as far as, watching film, whether it would be on the plane, on the road, in the locker room. So he was very much a student of the game. And that just, all that stuff combined with information from the game, information of taking care of your body, I got him playing at least another 3 years, man.
Wow. I mean, Iverson couldn't have been more opposite. He spent about 75% of the game on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and you can see what it did to him at the end, at the end. I mean, not if he didn't feel like he was damaged, other teams felt like he was damaged. And the sole fact of he got bumped around so much. But that was his style of play. That's how he was able to get into the spots that he was able to get into. But, from the outside looking in, it was like, if you talk to coaches and general managers, it was that he got bumped around a lot and he stayed on the floor. And that kind of factored into, late in his career.
We talked a little bit about your game then and the game, how it's changed. But you shot 15% from three in your rookie year. And you grew out to be a 38, 39% shooter for a few seasons. But at the time, it is like the idea that playing with a ball-dominant point guard and you're getting somebody who's one of his, super athletic, great on defense, long, but you weren't built as a shooter coming in. How would your game be different today if you were coming into the league now?
It's different. The game is played different. I mean, we're teaching now. We're teaching more space. When I was coming up, we were teaching get the bucket the best way you know how. If someone can't stay in front of you, figure out, using your first step. When I was coming out, your first step was huge because guys were so strong and they would hold you off. You couldn't maneuver. I mean, you couldn't get 4 or 5 dribbles, going east, east and west. North and south. You would have to go east and west. So the game is different. And I think, as you said, as you get older, I think you shoot the ball better. And one, if you put more focus on that. I didn't necessarily put a lot of focus on that until I got into the league and understood how far that damn line was away, right? I mean, I didn't realize how far that line was. I mean, right? I'm coming 1 year out of college, fresh out of high school. But it is just really just training your body and muscle memory to understand what the distance is, and at 41, I mean, I can shoot those threes now. With my eyes closed, I can get the distance, whether I make them or not. But it is just, just muscle memory and really working on, that facet of your game. And I didn't necessarily, I would admit that I didn't spend the time, as far as from distance, like your 1-2 dribble pull up, getting to the elbow. I mean, I watched MJ, and that's where, you got to get to the elbow. So that's where my focus was at. It was more in the mid range as opposed to, shooting the 3-ball.
You talk about the difference between college and NBA, 3-point line. If you're listening and you haven't tried to shoot an NBA 3, it's really far. I mean, like, if you're not used to shooting that, it's almost like it's impossible to shoot it with the same mechanics as you shoot the other one and getting used to that. I mean, it's really, really far. I can't express that enough. It's a shocking difference.
Yeah, it's reality. It's reality, and you can shoot it once or twice, in a comfortable form. But go around the horn, making 10 spots at each spot from 5 spots. I mean, that's 53s made, and that's where you can start to see how accurate you really shoot the basketball.
We through this have watched, and we have one player now in Simmons that we talk about a lot with shooting. And maybe this answer is simple, but maybe it's not. What do you work on? You became a better shooter as you went on, and we've been doing this podcast for 7 years, so we've seen a lot of development projects with the Sixers. And with most of them, it's like, well, if they can just figure out how to shoot, like every single one of them. So how is it that you become a better shooter? What are the steps to take other than just shooting more?
Really, that's it, and getting comfortable with your reps. And I think it's getting comfortable with your makes or your misses. Really finding your release point, and then using all your mechanics, the things that you've learned to engage your legs, to form and follow through. And it sounds simple, but it takes an awful lot of time to really understand, what your release point is, and then how you take that release point of working in the gym by yourself or with the coach, and then you put 9 other people around you with the game moving, with you not catching the ball in the exact position that you would want to catch it, or your feet not being in the exact, in the proper position that you want to, push off the ground. So all of these things factor in, or somebody flying past you, or somebody poking you in the stomach. Like, these are all the things that go on when guys are shooting from long range that you have to be aware of. And to do it over and over and over in a game setting, it's just really about getting up reps and really tuning out the outside noise and again, making sure that you have your coaching staff, making sure that they support you in the shots that you take, making sure that your teammates have your back on the shots that you take. And then it is about reps, because if you're shooting those shots in the gym by yourself or in the gym with your coaches, then you build, they get comfortable with you taking those shots. So you're more comfortable taking those shots within the game as well. So it is shooting mechanics, but there's a lot of confidence mixed into that on how you shoot the basketball.
As the official podcast of dogs, the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is brought to you by the official dog bed of dogs. That's right, Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. Mike, I think we've gotten more Big Barker photos, process pup photos, in the last 3 months than we have in any 3-month period we've been doing the pod.
I believe that.
Yeah,
not
just
much
got
else to do.
Yes, get dogs. Get a fucking dog. This new one we got today is Finnegan. Got a Barker Jr. He is a 2.5-month-old miniature Schnauzer. And then and check out these names. 2 process pups on the same bed, Liam and Kipton. It sounds British or rich or something like that.
One of the two.
Liam, maybe
Inextricably
both.
linked.
Yeah, inextricably linked. Look, Big Barker is the official dog bed of like us. Go to bigbarker.com/Ricky, bigbarker.com/Ricky. That's where you get the Big Barker dog bed, but you also get the bonus of the 2 processed pup patches. Longtime listener, Steve, LL's wingman, is getting a dog and just got the Big Barker dog bed with the processed pup patches. And he gets a handwritten letter from Eric from Big Barker. The owner wrote a handwritten letter in the envelope. The envelope says TTP on the outside of it. These beds are the only real, true dog beds on the market. They're the only dog beds that are worth resting the love of your life. That's right, your dog's joints on that bed. Engineered by real experts to make a real dog bed to support your dog's joints. Dogs over 50 pounds, up to 80% of them develop arthritis as they age. Regular dogs, less than 50 pounds, wear and tear. Rebel, I walk him 4 miles a day. That guy's got some wear and tear. Needs to sleep on a supportive dog bed. You get your Big Barker. You send us a picture of your dog on the Big Barker. We put him up in the Process Pup Gallery. It's legit, man. And go to the Process Pup Gallery on our website. Just see that dog resting on that bed compared to the dog bed you have for your dog. You'll see the difference. 10-year warranty. The foam doesn't flatten or they replace it for free. 1 year at-home trial. If, for any reason, you don't like it, you can return it for a full refund. They'll even pay for shipping. Handmade in the USA. Big Barker dog beds. Back to the Ricky.
All right, most important question. Kelly Rowland, Nelly, the dilemma video. You play Kelly Rowland's boyfriend. Seminal moment in my life. Certainly watching that video over and over again. How did that happen? How was it for you? I have a million questions.
It was cool, man. Dude was from St. Louis, and I was out in Golden State, obviously close to LA. We spent some time in LA, and I had a few people ask if I wanted to be involved with commercials or videos or things of that nature. And it just so happened that a guy, from hometown was getting ready to shoot a video with Kelly Rowland, and they wanted me to play a part within that video. It was fun. It was a learning experience. It was too damn long for a 2.5-minute video. So that was, kind of my first experience of the hurry up and wait sort of deal. I got a lot of gear from that video shoot. That's what I remember the most.
Cool.
Is our
powder blue Chargers jersey.
Yeah, so the throwbacks were popping, and everybody was trying to get their hands on the throwback that nobody else had. So I had my pick of, it was probably 20, 30 throwback jerseys for a day and a half shoot. So I'm just collecting all the jerseys, throwing them in my bag. But it was an experience, man.
Pete Rose jersey.
Yeah. The Pete Rose jersey, still got that one hanging up in my closet. The Buffalo Braves jersey, I still got that one hanging up in my closet. But it was fun, man. It was fun, and that stuff carries. It lives on. I'm 41 now. I get even kids now that'll catch those videos that come on late, and I'll be like, I know that guy. So it was a great experience for me, man. People get laughs out of it. People ask me, what was it like for him to take your girlfriend? I'm like, in real life, never happened, would never happen. But it was a good experience, man. And I put on for St. Louis.
Nelly and Kelly are dancing. They're grinding on the street across the street from your house. Do you have any notes for the director? Like, hey, man, my character wouldn't be cool with this.
I was completely oblivious to whatever was going on. Like, I didn't know, the cadence of anything. I didn't actually know that they shot the videos from last to first. When I first was, doing the videos, I didn't have any questions because I didn't know what the hell was going on.
So the NBA, they're all in Orlando now, right? And this is happening. So I want you to go in depth about your answer. But if I gave you 3 choices, when you know what you know about being in the NBA, you know what they're trying to do, is your initial reaction, oh, they can do that? Is it, I don't know, or is it, there's no way that's going to work? Like, what's your gut reaction for it?
I think it's, I don't know. I don't know in the sense of, okay, because I think that all those guys are in Orlando. All those guys are professional. They're basketball players first and foremost. They're businessmen, because they're basketball players. And, if those guys weren't in Orlando, I give them 2 weeks before half of those guys are grouping up together, playing pickup, 5-on-5 somewhere. So they're going to see each other here. I mean, they were going to see each other really soon, whether they went to Orlando or not. And they have, testing, they have the best, protocols and procedures that are out today. And that's kind of how I look at it, is because I know that they're basketball players, that eventually and really soon, those guys we're going to get out there to start playing 5-on-5. I mean, and this is, I think, is the best case scenario for the guys that are playing for something and get a chance to really, win a championship. However crazy it may seem, I mean, you still get a chance to win a ring. And 5 years from now, you may talk about the scenario or the situation, but you'll still talk about that group has a ring. So, I would go for it.
The Sixers have a rookie named Matisse Thybulle, who is incredibly special off-ball defensively. Gets in passing lanes, long, challenges shots that you don't think that he can even get to, and he's blocking shots from behind and coming off of the pick and roll. In 04-05, you're playing for Washington. You averaged 2.9 steals per game, which is an insane number. Led the league, I believe. What's the difference between really good defense and getting steals? A lot of the time it's overlapping, but what is like, Matisse is good defensively and has a nose for the ball, but what's it going to take for him to kind of like get to NBA level defense where he's not just tipping the ball and stuff?
I think that's the best position to be in. How the league is set up today, a defender, he doesn't get the chance to play defense because he won't get his second bump, right? If the offensive player comes down and he makes that contact, they're not allowing that defender to get his second bump. It's going to be a foul. So being off the ball, help side, the ability to contest shots, to make shots difficult, to make teams change up certain plays because there may be a pass that's left out there too long, or there may be a skip pass that they feel is too long of a pass. These things change the game, and they change the game from a mental standpoint. So I'd say that it is very tough to become a great on-ball defender in today's game. Right. You can do some of that in the post. We're holding guys off so they don't get too deep. But on the perimeter, I don't think the league is set up to allow guys to shut guys down anymore. And that's where those guys can benefit from being off-ball defenders and really understanding the concepts and the things that the other teams are running. And that's a guy that I've actually been watching and really impressed. He's gifted in that area of playing defense and understanding what his opponents are doing, in those concepts.
What were you doing in that season that allowed you, because the rest of your career, I mean, obviously always had nose for the ball, 1.6, 1.9, that kind of steals, but 2.9 steals per game is ridiculous. What about that season allowed you to do that kind of thing? Was it just the way that you guys were playing in Washington?
I had GA. I had Gilbert, who I think I had 2.9. I think he was maybe third or fourth, that year, and we fed off each other. We were, really reading and watching what we're doing. So it was just about watching film. I watched a lot of film, and I understood what was coming next. If the team called out a play, I kind of ran through those scenarios of where the ball was going, who they wanted to get the basketball to, and then I would really position myself in a way to catch the next pass or the next opportunity. And it was, I think if I had to pinpoint one thing, was really watching film and then getting the other team's play calls. So, if those were on the scouting report on the board, that helped me as well recognize not only the setup, but also hear what that play was and be in place to make it difficult.
What percentage of players in the league put in that kind of work on defense? Like what's the breakout? Because we've had guys here like Covington, we found out, like just really sunk his entire offseason into that sort of stuff and really took pride in it. What percentage of players care enough to do that?
I think it's 30-40%. I wouldn't say that it's half. I think because the emphasis is on scoring the basketball. Even when I work with my young people today, we work on defensive concepts within that offensive skill session. So, but there is an awful lot of attention paid to guys that can score the basketball. So I think that the more sexy thing is to score, and those that want more of an advantage, more time on the court, more respect from their teammates or from their coaching staff of everything that you bring to the table, kind of that that Swiss Army knife sort of deal where you can score the basketball too, but you're also going to make it difficult on the other end. I think it's 30-40% of the guys in the league understand that, because our game is getting so global. So many people are playing basketball. You have to have these multiple skill sets that are going to allow you to keep your job for at least 10 years.
My favorite kind of steal to get is when someone's on ball, someone's trying to drive by me, whether it's a crossover or whatever, and I poke it out. Yeah. I love that thing. And sometimes get called for a reach, but they get tired of calling that, so sometimes I just poke it out. What is your favorite steal to get? Those off ball, like reading the passing lanes out and then hit the fast break, or do you like it when you're really like stripping somebody one-on-one?
Man, no, there's 1A and 1B right there. I definitely like the passing lane, because again, that shows me that I did my scouting report. I know what play is coming up. I know which pass is next. I know if a guy's dribbling hard right, the amount of time it's going to take him to pass that ball left. I've kind of calculated that time in my head. So, running through that lane as that ball is coming is definitely something that I think takes a lot of skill. And then I like to come from behind, right? When that guy thinks he's behind you and my arms are long and he's going dominant right hand and I can reach around with my right hand and snag the ball. I mean, that's a highlight reel.
I miss basketball. I really miss it.
I always think of Mike and Larry Hughes in the same.
That's right.
I'm like steals. I'm thinking Cub and Mike and Larry. So what kind of team do you think in this? Let's say they play in Orlando. They get all the way through it. Like, what kind of team succeeds in a atmosphere like that?
Man, Bron has the mindset. He has the pedigree. He has the experience. He has the maturity. I definitely believe he has the mindset because of everything that's weighing on his legacy. So a team like his, where you have multiple guys, you have all-stars, you have a few champions mixed into that, into that group, I'm going to give those guys the best shot. They've been off for 4 months. They're seasoned guys, so they know kind of the build-up to preseason, to regular season, to championship caliber basketball. And I'm sure they know, obviously that rhythm and that cadence to get there and be as strong as they can. So I think that's a group that I feel can modify the schedule and really understand kind of that ramp up period and be at a high level early and sustain that. So I'm picking those guys. Obviously, they were top, in the league when they finished off. But just watching interviews and reading interviews and understanding what the mindset is, and then that roster that they've created, it sets those guys up for success, I believe, from a physical standpoint, but also from a mental standpoint.
Do you, minus Brad Beal and Davis Bertans, do you think the Wizards are going to win a game?
I think they'll win a game. I think they'll win a game. I think because you don't know once you get started on what the other team is going to look like. Again, the dynamic of having young players that are hungry, with some seasoned veterans in there, with a good management core of really preaching the importance of going out and showing and proving that you're NBA worthy or Washington Wizards worthy. It's an audition. So I think that, with that landscape, I think that they'll be able to win, more than one basketball game in Orlando.
The Wizards are kind of the place, aside from Beal, who's I think one of the 10, 15 best players in the league, kind of where the Sixers were before Embiid and Simmons got there, and that like it's a bunch of young guys, bunch of kind of journeyman guys. Who do you like there that is maybe not getting talked about enough because the team's not very good, that you think could stick in the league?
Well, I think it's fresh. I think it's fresh. I think Thomas Bryant is a guy that brings, crazy amount of energy. On the game that we play today, a guy that can rotate from 3-point line to the middle of the paint to protect the basket, with some understanding of NBA concepts, both offensively and defensively, is a guy that, if he continues to improve, I think he'll make his way. And if he's not a starter in this league, he'll be, that next big man to come in. And then Rui, I think, is, he's a young guy, got a chance to experience last season. But it was up and down. I mean, you had, Brad, trying to lead the way and show him how to win, and how to compete every night more so than win, because they were kind of behind the 8 ball a little bit. So those are two guys that I think, can benefit. And I'm talking about kind of the bigger guys, because those guys have a little bit of, have multiple skill sets that they can bring to the table that I think will help the Wizards more. And then obviously you have, a couple of guards that you want to check out with Ish, who's a little bit older. But, I just think that, when you have a combination of this situation where you got your G League players coming up, you got your, you got Schofield, who spent a lot of time in the G, but also spent a lot of time getting minutes with the NBA guys. So he's going to come in with a different mindset versus the guys that are kind of been in that, in that G League space. So I think it'll be fun. I hope it'll be fun for those guys to go out and compete and to learn. I think that should be their goal, is to compete as hard as you can, both mentally and physically, and then learn as much as you can to help you, because the next season is going to come really fast.
Sounds like a professional Wizards podcaster answer.
Yeah, there you go. Do you like doing it? Do you like doing a podcast? How long have you guys been doing it now?
We started right before the pandemic, man. So we were geared to talk about, we were geared to talk about the X's and O's and the insiders of Wizards and how they're performing and what sort of things that, we can look behind the curtains and see to give to fans. So I like doing it. I wanted to step out a bit from my personality. I'm kind of laid back, and I'll speak. I'll do interviews. I'm not a social media guy per se, but I just wanted to step out a little bit and expose myself to something that was different for me. And it's been going fine. I mean, Matt has been a good co-host to the show, and he's helped me out a lot as far as emails and schedules and making sure that I can just jump on and use my my expertise, which is a number of years of basketball experience, man. Just try to give people a different perspective and have some fun with it, and talk a little bit of shit and just keep it fun.
Well, if you ever need any advice on how to cover a terrible team, we are your guys.
Yeah, we did it for years.
Anytime. Yep. I need to ask another Kelly Rowland dilemma question. Do you know the words to that song? Do you know all? Does it like? Do your kids watch that video? Like,
man,
what do you got?
He's from St. Louis, man. We were pretty much every song. I mean, especially from those days, man, for sure. I mean, so my vocals are right now. It's
okay.
You catch me in the evening, I may be able to blow a little bit something for you, but no, it's I know every word, man. Kelly's part, his part.
Good song. I love that song.
It's a good song. It has it has that carry. It has that carry. So we did that, like you said, we did that almost 20 years ago, and it still has that carry.
Well, dude, this was a joy having you on. I'll tell you, like, there's some players who play in Philly. Philly's like you weren't here very long, but they remember you in Philly, right? And like, you are a guy. I mentioned to a couple of people where I work. I was like, hey, we're having Larry Hughes on the podcast, and they got legitimately excited. And here, you're a player here a year and a half. So just know that in Philly, you're a Sixer. I know you played for a lot of teams, but in Philly, you'll always be a Sixer.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. I felt the love. I feel the love. My time there of competing on the court and just trying to learn. And, I think they understood that I was young, but they understood that I would go out and compete and I would fight and I would work hard. So, I think even the times that I've come back, on other teams, I may have gotten 4 or 5, 6 boos maybe. Right. I mean, normally when you go and you come back, they'll shower you with the boos just because you're not with them. But for me, I didn't get many boos even when I came back on different teams. And that just speaks to, who the Philadelphia fans are. I did some charity stuff, coming back for Allen's events and things of that nature. So it's a home. It's a comfortable place for me to visit and to be.
There's the booing the overpaid guy who maybe didn't deliver as much as he thought he did, and then there's the you traded a young guy too soon, and then they're booing the organization. So when Shamet comes back, it's what the hell? Why'd you trade this guy?
Yeah.
You're in that boat, I think.
I feel like it. I feel like it. I feel like that's a place that I could have people on my social media that that are from Philly that reach out and send me notes and send me comments. I got a guy in Philly that I ordered a bunch of T-shirts from. That's the guy that I met during my playing days. So I love what Philadelphia represents, and it'll always be a piece of my career.
Well, thanks. So the podcast is Bleav In Wizards, and it's you and Matt, and it's on everywhere that you get podcasts. And I appreciate your time, man. Good luck with the academy and everything. You're a good dude, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. I'm glad we could make the times work and get everything scheduled on. And sorry for jumping on 2-3 minutes early and shutting down what you guys were doing, man. I apologize.
Let me tell you, man. If every guest came on 2 or 3 minutes early, it would be that's a problem I'll deal with.
We talking up. We wanted to see you.
Right on.
Yeah.
Thank you, Larry.
Right on. Appreciate you.
Hang on one second. So thank you to Larry Hughes. That was awesome.
He's the man, dude.
Yeah,
I seminal images in my mind of him being on the receiving end of an Iverson lob.
Yeah,
grew up with that.
We could use him now. Honestly, he says he can still shoot. We could use him. So thanks to Matt. We were joking in the middle. Thanks to Matt from Bleav In Wizards who lined it up with Larry. Check out the podcast if you want to listen.
Starting a Wizards podcast right before a pandemic it's a really confluence of events that you don't want.
And by the way, Larry is a good dude because he's still doing it. If you didn't have 6 years built up, there's no way. Yeah,
I don't even know.
Yeah,
I think I would have blocked your number by now.
Yeah. All right. We will have another podcast during the week with a very special guest, 2 special guests in 1 week. So thanks for listening. Are you down with TTP?
Yeah. Lickface.
If you don't fuck with me, then I won't fuck with you. If you don't fuck with me, then I won't fuck with you.
If you don't fuck with me, then I won't fuck with you.
If you don't fuck with me,
Then I won't fuck with you.
but if you fuck with me,
I'm gonna fucking kill you! That's a plan B.